Guard the Feared on a map called Medusa, which is not the same Medusa that exists in the Pro League of today, but rather is a version of Medusa that just existed on the Blizzard ladder of the time. So it's a bit of a different map than if you thought it was the Medusa that had been used in the later on professional scene. So let me go ahead and adjust the stream now. And we're going to go ahead and move into the Scar the Feared game. Scar the Feared playing as Zerg and myself as Protoss. And again, this is a look into what an average player in the ladder would have been like, more so than a named player would have been. So I'm going to go ahead and load up that game now. So this is the map here. We have in the, I guess this would be the 11 o'clock position, Scar the Feared playing as the Brown Zerg. And then we have myself in the, I guess this would be, I'd say 1 or 2 o'clock position, playing as the Yellow Protoss. Playing under my Smurf name UJ Knight at the time, rather than the Bluewolf nickname I might normally use. You'll notice on this map that it's a very large map. There is not that much distance between the horizontal between us two, but in order to get to each other, you kind of have to go a long way around. Trying to find the ramp here. So if my main base is here, I have to go up this ramp, come on down, go down this ramp, go across this area over here, go up this ramp, go back around, and go down that ramp. So it's kind of a bit of a twist in order to get from one base to the other, with a lot of choke points involved. So I'm going to go ahead and put up some stats while our build orders start to develop. I don't have much information on Scar the Feared. I can tell you that of all the replays that I've seen that I have of him from this event, his APM was about 110. In this particular game, his APM was 139, so well above the average for the games that I have of him. And that's about all I know about this player himself. So Scar the Feared or Zerg playing 139 APM with an average of 110, going above and beyond is normal. And somebody that we had a lot of games, my brother and I did, in the ladder many times. So he's building up a hatchery, going a hatchery inside of his base first, followed by a geyser, having gone Overlord before that. For myself, pretty standard Protoss gateway into a simulator. So as the Protoss, there's myself again, the proverbial stepping stone of the StarCraft American scene at the time, where if you could start to beat me consistently, you could start to claim that you were a top player. Simply because of the fact that I was never good enough to win a tournament, but generally good enough to place. So if you started to beat me consistently, that meant you were probably about to win a tournament. I had a bunch of, middling positions in many different events that existed back in the day, like from I2E2 prior to replays, or in the Million Man LAN that would occur a few months after this online tournament hosted by CompUSA. And a picture again of myself at that Million Man LAN event that has been shown in 1 or 2 other games since my brother and I own many of these replays. So it looks like we have the Zerg player going for a spawning pool, of course, now to try to get up to actual units that it can attack. And for myself as the Protoss, it's likely going to be a Cybernetics core. So he knows exactly where I am. He scouted the right way with the Zerg Overlord. It was to be the closest way to actually detect something would have been to go across horizontally, because the vertical distances are much greater to the next base. So it was obvious or very logical that he would have scouted in the direction he did. And my Zealot here is going to be making my way into his base. So there isn't really a easy natural expansion for him to take that he could choke off with. So I think I'm just using the Zealot mostly to see what he's up to and to just harass a bit. And just to stand there and do nothing with. It's a top-notch strategy. You should always just send a unit, attack a single drone with a single attack, and then just have it stand there. It's a brilliant move. You'll confuse them, and they'll just don't know what to do after that. So like if you look at the natural here on this map, you can see here he's taking it now, but you can still kind of go up this ramp and ignore the natural if you were doing some type of timing attack, which makes it much harder for a Zerg to go expansion first. So it looks like I'm going after 2 Zealots for Dragoons, adding in range. Going for a Protoss Forge, which will allow me to get, of course, cannons. And otherwise, looks like some Zerglings are streaming in now from Scar the Feared. This probe is not long to this world. Goodbye, probe. It was nice knowing you for the brief second that I did. And his Zerglings are going to stream right in. This Overlord is being attacked, but may be able to escape as the Zerglings distract my Dragoon from being able to carry out its mission. Or it may just... oh! It escapes being surrounded. Nice. So another attempt to surround the Dragoon. It looks like this one will work. Most of the harassing Zerglings have been taken out in exchange, so I don't quite know who came away ahead in that exchange. Probably about equal, I would say. Except for the fact the Overlord did live, so I guess that's 100 resources, so maybe that was worth it then for the Zerg player's perspective. You'll also notice that because of the fact that this map does not have a natural ramp that's as easily defended as other places, that I have a very, very compacted build here. You have the forge, the photon cannon, and the buildings in such a way that things are going to be hard to get into my mineral line. So while how to build compact bases and how to funnel units would become much more well developed as time went on, even at this point in time in 2002, we were starting to get into the habit of making bases that would funnel units in certain ways that we wanted the units to go, or make it very difficult for units to get into our base. And that's also why there's a Zealot here on hold position, as the Zerglings could normally be able to fit through there, but that would block that pathway for them to move forward. So for those joining us, as this game continues on with the Zergling harassment that I'll follow right here, this is from 1.09 StarCraft. This is being held on the CompUSA $2,000 Gamefixx ladder. So all of us are trying to qualify the top 64 in order to get a shot at the $20,000 prize pool. And this is myself, Bluewolf, against Scar the Feared, a random ladder player at the time, to give an example as to the average ladder skill of the players that were playing within it. So we can see here that I'm getting a speed upgrade. I assume I'm also getting +1. So you speed and +1 on your Zealots was quite common to do because it made your Zealots so much better against Zerglings. You only take 2 hits with a +1 to kill a Zergling compared to 3 without it. So during this time, it was just very popular to have that as an opening for the PvZ matchup. Meanwhile, Scar the Feared is just continuing to reinforce his Zerglings. It looks like he has gotten a layer and he's going towards Hydra Speed, and I assume with the layer eventually going to go for Lurkers as well. So I'm pushing out a bit. It looks like my +1 is probably, my +1 finished. So with my +1 finished, I feel a lot stronger. I feel like his Zerglings will not just be able to kill my force. So I'm going to start moving out onto the map, trying to see what I can find and what I can do. He has keeping Zerglings burrowed, which is kind of unusual, using them as a bit of scouting mechanic to find out the movement of my troops. And it's looking like this +1 timing is about to go down. So he has a single sunken colony. He's trying to add a second one, but it's too late. These Zerglings will try to fight, but again, these +1 Zealots are going to be much stronger against them. 2 Hydras come up from the top. The Hydras are a bit late as well. That sunken colony is not going to be done in time. So he has a Hydra Speed about to finish, but no Lurkers. It doesn't look like this base is going to be able to hold unless a lot of reinforcements come from somewhere, and I don't think he has the numbers. More Zerglings focusing on the Dragoon first, realizing that they're not doing so well against the Zealots with their +1 attack. And indeed, it looks like this natural expansion of his will be lost. Still no upgrade for Lurkers, which would be quite useful in the situation against a mostly Zealot army. And this hatchery will fall. Looks like I'm trying to expand somewhere random because, again, there was no really good natural expansion. I think I was just trying to go for a sneaky expansion somewhere else just to continue pushing my lead. So just going for a expansion randomly somewhere, because this is such a large map, it's hard to scout at all. It's hard to have vision of everywhere your opponent may choose to try to expand to. And so it looks like there's going to be a push at his main base, and let's see if he has to hold it. He has a bunch of Hydras and Zerglings. They're not in very good conclave positions, so you can kind of tell a difference between the mid-level players and the top-level players by having their units ready to defend at any period of time. You should already have had a conclave built and ready for an engagement, but hadn't done that yet. So it looks like these voices will be cleared up. These +1 zealots doing pretty fine work. And with that going down, it looks like that was GG. So that was an average ladder game on Medusa, myself versus the Scar of the Feared, and what it would have been like playing at this time period, the kind of skill level that was involved.